Good morning, Madam Senator. First, that does not bother me at all. What I'm thinking about is all the instruments of military power that have to be brought to bear to stop illicit activity. That is only one of the illegal things they're doing. We've talked a lot about what is North Korea getting from Russia. One of the things they're getting is the ability to circumvent sanctions, and that theft is a piece of that. Ma'am, I'm also encouraged by the fact that we can see what's going on.
Do you have an awareness of the Department of Justice's team that targeted and basically was able to prosecute to the tune of billions of dollars crypto crimes? Are you aware of that team, highly successful team that is being disbanded?
Yes, ma'am, I am aware of that team.
Disbanding any efforts that we have in that space. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hirono. Senator Ernst, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and gentlemen. Thank you for being here, Admiral Paparo and General Brunson. Chief, good luck to you in your retirement. Thank you so much for your service. I'll go ahead and start with Indo-PACOM. Admiral, thank you so much. As you've clearly laid out for the committee today, the Indo-Pacific is growing very dangerous. It is extremely complex. Our deterrence depends not just on our war fighting capability, but also on the ability to sustain our operations. I started my career as an engineer, became a transporter, and ended my career as a logistician. Not a big sexy topic here in this committee, but it is absolutely necessary that we talk about it. If we wish to win the fight, we've got to sustain the fight. So, Admiral, what gaps still exist in our theater logistics network that put our forward posture at risk?
Morning, Senator. Significant gaps in sea lift. First, the combat logistics force in total is about 60% of the actual requirement. We account for that by hiring console tankers and by contracting other capabilities. But when the unforgiving hour comes, the only ships that will be able to commit to areas to put into harm's way will be gray ships. And as I utter these words, 17 of those combat logistics force ships are laid up for lack of manpower. In addition, I discussed in the previous committee, we have to have many millions of pounds of fuel, of jet fuel in the air for every capability. And so our tanker fleet is below what we need. We account for that for some contract air services as well. But once again, those same factors obtain for you have to have a gray tail, and then finally just cargo lift and the number of short tons of C-17 lift. Like for instance, just having moved a Patriot battalion into the CENTCOM AOR, it took 73 C-17 loads to move that Patriot battalion.
73.
What's that? 73. Of one battalion of a force element. So our lift requirements must be paid attention to. And I share your passion for sustainment. That's what won World War II.
Absolutely. So those logisticians, the maintenance dudes and dudettes that are out there working every day to make sure that our warriors are able to fight the good fight. So with that, you talked about contractors, and we use them extensively. But how can Congress help accelerate the improvements necessary in Indo-PACOM when that hour comes?
Well, I think we've got to get at the problems of why we don't have enough combat logistics force, and that's shipbuilding, why we don't have enough labor, and those are looking hard at pay and incentives in order to recruit and retain those people. Rates of production and diversifying the tanker fleet is key, and then continuing on to find alternatives of lift capability that we can order into harm's way. And then over top of all of this, we're incorporating artificial intelligence tools with command and control tools so that it's not an on-demand system, but so that we are executing that absolutely indispensable joint function as effectively as we possibly can. You know, we are an AI-enabled headquarters, and that's important too. But you can't AI your way out of a material deficiency.
Right. I agree completely. And we need to spend more time on this topic. But just very briefly, General Brunson, I apologize. I've got 30 seconds. We rely heavily on allies, neighbors, friends, or force multipliers, but so do our adversaries. We've heard that there are North Koreans now that are fighting the fight over in Ukraine. Can you tell us, what are the North Koreans learning from this experience, and what will they take back to your region?
Ma'am, I've said several times now in several hearings that we can't confuse the tactical lessons that they're learning with strategic benefit. What we've got to understand is that they've gone over, they've done some things. There's been strategic movement. There's been operational maneuver, that they're learning some things, but it's the technology that's coming back in that is a threat to the Republic of Korea and the world.
Wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thank you, Senator Ernst. Senator King, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. General Brunson, without our presence on the
Microphone.
without our presence on the Korean Peninsula, would Kim invade the South?
Sir, I would tell you that I don't believe he would. But what I would tell you is he would take advantage of other weapons and systems that he has, conventional, to limit the Republic of Korea's great growth that's taken place over the past 75 years. I think that if we look at the hardening that's occurred on his border at the present time, the fences have been raised, mines have been seeded in the demilitarized zone. I think that what we see is
why is he doing that? Is there any threat that the South Koreans are going to invade North Korea?
Sir, I think it's as much about the things that he's broadcast in open source, that he is a sovereign nation. He's not looking to work at reunification. He's blown up all the means of industry in the DMZ.
I thought you said in your opening testimony he's not talking about reunification. He's talking about one whole country. Doesn't that imply an invasion of the South?
No, sir. He considers himself sovereign north of the MDL, sir.
So
which he claims is his southern boundary now.
So he's accepted the boundary. In which case, if you testified he wouldn't invade, then why are we there?
I think it's, Senator, I don't think it's a matter of whether he'll invade or not. I think that these intentions to cordon off North Korea could very well be temporary. And so to say, will he invade or won't he invade, we're talking about probabilities. With the loss of the force on the Korean Peninsula, there's a higher probability that he would invade.
Well, that was my expectation when I asked that question. I would assume that if we weren't there, it would encourage him to take steps to try to cripple the South.
I think it's essential. We have a treaty ally. It's the number 10 economy in the world. Our economies are very much intertwined. KJU's intentions could shift with the wind. And he's built a military that is designed to impose tremendous costs directly on South Korea. It's very important we maintain that deterrent.
I agree. And to the extent that the South Korean economy is somehow affected or diminished, that would be against our interest because of the relationship that we have.
Yes, Senator, and I misheard you, so please forgive me. But as I mentioned previously, 2,100 U.S. countries tied to the Republic of South Korea, 450,000 jobs as well.
Thank you. This is sort of an intelligence question, General Brunson, but I know you have intelligence. Do the North, I didn't mean that the way it sounded. I know you have access to intelligence assets. How's that? Better, yeah. Do the North Koreans know the extent to which they're being screwed by the regime? And we've all seen the famous picture of no lights in North Korea, and South Korea is full of energy and prosperity. Do the North Koreans have any inkling of the way that they're being their opportunities in life are being diminished by this regime?
Senator, I would answer that, having fully listened to the question, that I might answer it correctly this time. I would fully answer that by looking at the forces that they sent to Ukraine, to that fight. Absolutely dyed-in-the-wool ideologues who are tied to and believe in that regime that exists there. I think a great many of the people are not witting to what's going on there, but the elites, as long as he maintains control of the elites. There was a recent article that talked about the things that he's doing to circumvent sanctions and other things to continue to bring luxury goods into his country. And as long as
Those luxury goods don't go to the people.
No, sir. The point I'm making is that as long as he can sort of provide a palliative to the elites, the other folks won't. There's no way that they get communications in or out. One of the things that was coming from the NGOs going to the north was radios. And those things then begat, feces balloons and garbage balloons back to the south. So I would say that the rank and file, everyday people, other than those within his special operations units, are not witting to anything outside of their country.
That certainly is my impression. Admiral, final question. If we pulled back in terms of our support for Ukraine, would that incentivize Japan, South Korea to develop their own capacity, including a nuclear capacity?
Sarah, I'm ignorant of the policy. I don't know the policy that's going on. It's another theater, but I'll say that Russian failure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say Ukraine? I meant Taiwan.
Okay.
If we withdrew our support from Taiwan, would that incentivize Japan and South Korea to develop an independent capacity, including the possibility of nuclear weapons?
My assessment is yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Admiral, go ahead and answer that question with regard to Ukraine.
So without, I'm in the Indo-Pacific, so I don't have perfect knowledge
I
of
understand.
the ongoing. But my assessment, and it's to a very deep extent backed in the intel record, is that Russian failure and or Russian success has the effect of deterring or emboldening the People's Republic of China, and they've already taken notice of the tremendous costs that Russia has endured.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you for that, because that's a question I would have asked if I'd had another 10 seconds. Thank you.
And it only took us 59 seconds. Thank you very much. Senator Scott, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank both of you for what you do. Thank you for the men and women you serve with. So, Admiral Paparo, how much of your time do you spend trying to anticipate or counter actions by Communist China?
Senator Scott, that consumes my duties, which is a constant stare, the constant analysis of intelligence sources, of open source sources, and then the physical movement on the ground to be able to see and understand, to anticipate, and to be able to pace their actions that look to coerce Taiwan and to bring to demonstrate the prospect of settling the matter by force. And number two, their encroachment on treaty allies in the Philippines, as well encroachment on partners in the South China Sea with their excessive and illogical claims in their 9-dash line claim.
And their continuing ability to, build ships, airplanes, weapons, all these things. Does that cause you to spend more time and money?
Yes, sir, absolutely. They built combatants at the rate of 6 to 1.8
Right.
to the United States.
Right.
And I could go through every force element
Right.
that we're talking about.
Before they joined the World Trade Organization and before we allowed them to basically sell whatever they wanted to this country, did they have a military that you had to spend a lot of time worrying about?
Just by dint of the weight of the civilization, we worried about it. We've had to worry about this now for since 1949, but it's step level change. In the last 20 years, they've increased their military 10 to 15-fold.
Right. So if they didn't have the economy they have, which is completely created by selling goods and services to the American citizens, they would not have the resources that you would have to spend your time and money to try to counteract.
The society has grown greatly. That was a matter of design for the international community, but unanticipated was the aggression and the buildup that followed.
So your life would be better if no American bought any Chinese product or used any service, and no American dollar went to communist China.
I'll say that China's inability to pump resources into its national defense enterprise, which is bolstered by its trade position, is a direct corollary to the success of their business model.
So would you recommend American citizens stop buying Chinese products and stop using Chinese services?
I'd recommend that we build greater resilience and that we beat them on market principles. And so I don't want to go beyond my remit as a military officer.
Let's talk about naval readiness and specifically the C-130s. The Marine Corps and Air Force are 100% recapitalized on the C-130s. The Navy needs over 30 C-130s and yet to program for this critical tactical airlift platform. The Navy now, I think, only has one under contract. Does that concern you? Should we be doing something about it?
As discussed with Senator Ernst, sustainment is in fact what won the Second World War. That's what our would-be adversaries believe and have studied. And everything that confers to our ability to execute lift, and C-130 is one of a kind with its short field operations, with its capacity. It remains absolutely relevant and indispensable today. And we can't neglect it. It's a key priority for Indo-PACOM.
Do you think there is a role for dual-use uncrewed airlift capabilities in a contested logistics environment?
I think, the precepts of unmanned is never send a human being to do something that a machine can do. And so inherently we're moving in that direction. And I'd welcome the ability to execute that lift. And it would also give me the ability to diversify the places that we do, bringing smaller payloads into simultaneously smaller maneuvering units, and would enhance our ability to sustain by the speed it would confer.
General Mahoney testified before the Readiness Subcommittee that only 13 of 32 amphibious ships are ready. How does this state of the amphibious fleet impact your ability to do your job?
The amphibious fleet is indispensable. The whole principle of sustaining and moving a force, ships exist to move people, mass, and energy from one place to the other place efficiently. And our amphibious force is under-resourced and not ready enough.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you both for your service and for being here today. Admiral Paparo, I think I understood you to say in your opening statement that we must be active across the information environment. So one of the things that's happened in the last month is that we have we've pulled the plug on Voice of America and Radio Free Asia. We had a hearing in the Foreign Relations Committee earlier this year where it was pointed out to us that China is spending over $1 billion a year, billion with a B, on information systems and efforts to provide mis and disinformation across the region and across the world. So what are we doing to counter that? And how does the loss of something like Radio Free Asia affect our ability to counter what the PRC is doing?
China and its political works division and its United Front is incredibly active, effective, and untruthful in the information space. And the delivery of truthful information, really bolstered by free speech, having respect for everybody and everybody's ability to discern truth from lies, is absolutely vital. We do have an effort that is companion, that is where Special Operations Command is nested within this unit with their capabilities to execute information operations, but it's focused in the military space as it should be, given the fact that we're in the military. But in my opinion, we must work hard to counter PRC misinformation and disinformation, and our own principles of free speech greatly enable us to have faith in people to be able to suss out truth from lies.
And can you talk about why that matters when we're talking about military conflict?
Matters because in order for us to achieve the effects of expanded maneuver, our network of alliances and partnerships is the strategic center of gravity of the United States of America. And so inherently, because governments are accountable to the people they serve, that public opinion will have a great bearing on whether or not those allies and partners are a party to enable a coalition, because the bigger the coalition, the greater legitimacy, the greater capability, the greater access, facing and overflight.
Thank you. Clearly, we need to do better. General Brunson, South Korea and Japan recently renewed negotiations with the PRC toward free trade talks that have been stalled since 2012. I'm concerned that the tariffs that have been announced and withdrawn, then announced and withdrawn, are pushing our allies toward closer trade and integration with countries like China, and that poses security risks. So from an integration and cooperation perspective, do you see any challenges that would be posed by renewed economic talks between China and our closest allies in Asia?
Ma'am, I'll answer by what I'm seeing on the peninsula right now. My concerns would be, my hackles would raise, if you will, and I'll allow my boss to answer for the wider region. But if we were not continuing to move along the pathway for the bilaterally agreed upon OPCON transfer, if we weren't able to move on that path by way of economic challenges facing the nation, that would bother me. If we had impacts that led to lessening human and procedural interoperability coupled with technological interoperability being lost, that would concern me.
And I think Admiral Paparo made a very good case on the economic circumstances earlier in response to Senator Cotton's question. But I want to ask a follow-up on this with respect to the political dynamics in the Republic of Korea, which you referred to in your opening testimony. And the democratic process is playing out, but we expect an election. And are there concerns that depending on the outcome of that election, it will affect our relationship with ROK?
Ma'am, the realities of the region, where Korea sits, the adversaries which they can impose cost upon, is going to keep us in good stead going forward.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you very much. Senator Budd.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, thank you all both for being here. Good to see you again. So last weekend, a fresh rotation of fighter units arrived at Kadena Air Base, including the 336 Fighter Squadron from Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. Can you speak to their mission while deployed and how they fit into the larger strategy, Admiral?
Senator Budd, good morning. Kadena Air Force Base and the wing there is a critical mobile dynamic capability that is just not fixed in Kadena, but has the ability to move throughout the area of responsibility under the principles of agile combat employment. And so this is our on-point contact layer, immediate ability to impose costs, immediate ability to achieve ephemeral air superiority in the AOR, and it's a foundation on which the larger forces that would flow in the event of a conflict rests. And the Fifth Air Force, of course, is the headquarters in Yokota, with the wing in Misawa and the wing in Kadena. So it's absolutely crucial.
Thank you for that. And heaven forbid, I mean, we hope this never happens, but should deterrence fail in the region, does the Strike Eagle have a role to play that can't be accomplished by other fighters, Admiral?
Yes, sir, it does. And I mean, with F-15EX coming on board and with what that portends, with its dominant electronic warfare capability, in addition to the already dominant elements of range, speed, sensors, and payload of the mighty Eagle, former Eagle pilot myself on exchange, but without being a homer for it, indispensable.
Thank you for that. No, switch gears a little bit. Can you both elaborate on the demand for our special operations forces and how you're currently resourced to meet those demands? And General, we'll start with you in Korea.
Sir, Special Operations Command Korea is augmented within our headquarters by some very particular intelligence assets, I would call them, that help us to best see, sense, and understand on the peninsula itself. SOC Corps is commanded presently by a one-star National Guard officer, very capable formation in terms of ensuring that our partners around the region, not just the Koreans, but all forces that come to the peninsula to train, maintain great awareness of not only the region, but the discrete activities that might occur should they need to happen. Most recently in the West Sea, we're able to, during Freedom Shield, conduct an air assault. While being in the daytime, it allowed us to take the Korean forces and bring them to a higher state of readiness than they'd achieved previously.
Thank you, General. Admiral, you've talked about previously being underinvested in SOF. Do you care to expand on that?
Yeah, Senator,